Where does logic come from? Well, before we seek to answer that question, it might be prudent that we take the time to define our terms. Logic is one of those words that people feel perhaps overconfident in using, and they describe often too much by it, or they add descriptors to it that basically undo it. Logic, I would argue, are the rules by which we know things, reflecting the relationships among things. Many years ago, when I was a undergraduate at Grove City College, majoring in philosophy, I had to take a class on symbolic logic, and I was in fact the only philosophy major on the whole campus, and my professor was a good, kind man, Dr. Trammell, Dr. Richard Trammell. His son's name was John, was a friend as well. But Dr. Trammell gave me what used to be called a gentleman's C. That is, I probably deserved a D, but because I was a good guy, he gave me a C in my class on symbolic logic. I thanked him for it at the end of the semester, and he said with his Kentucky accent, "Well, R.C., I believe you understood the logic. It was the symbols that gave you the trouble." Well, logic is that system of rules that or articulated by Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, but not invented by him, not even discovered by him, just articulated by him. They're the laws of immediate inference. They are the law of non-contradiction, the law of identity. Whatever is. A cannot be A and not A in the same time in the same relationship. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Those are basic fundamental things by which we make sense of the universe. But where did it come from? There's no reason for there to be a reason for reason. There's no logical necessity that logic be necessary. It is necessary if we're going to know anything, and here's another logical tidbit for you. To deny that we know something is to affirm that we know something, namely that we know nothing. So therefore it's inescapable. Well, like every other bit of foundational epistemological bedrock, that is the most basic tools we use by which we know things, we can't prove logic, but we can demonstrate that to deny it is to affirm it. That is, if I say logic is not the foundation of truth, then I'm also affirming that logic is the foundation of truth, by the simple reason that without logic, everything can become its opposite. So where does it come from? If this world is a cosmic accident, if it's just a random combination of time and chance and energy, etc., then we have no reason to expect the world to be reasonable, for things to be rational and logical. There must be a transcendent source of logic. And that transcendent source is not something, I would argue, that is above God, to which he is beholden. It's not something below God that he's free to disregard, but it is his very nature. In fact, this is precisely what the Apostle John says in the introduction to his gospel, where he says, "In the beginning was the Logos." That Greek word logos, which is translated in our Bibles as word, could just as easily be translated as logic, or so argued the great Christian philosopher Gordon Clark. I think he's quite right. In the beginning was the logic, and the logic was with God, and the logic was God. Logic is his nature. He is the God of order. He is the God of design. And without him, you can have none of those things, which means you can know nothing, which means, well, there's no reason for you to say anything. So where does logic come from? Not from man's mind, not from our sense perception, but it comes from the very nature of God.